Welcome everyone, I'm Breakup Brad, and today's video is all about how to tell whether no contact is working as intended on your ex. Now, as you probably know if you've watched any of my previous videos, no contact is all about changing your ex's mind about breaking up, making them miss you like crazy, realize what they've lost by letting you walk out of their life, and decide to beg you for another chance. And it really does work, at least if you do it properly and for the right amount of time. But how can you tell if no contact is actually working on your ex? How can you tell if they're starting to really miss you like crazy and beginning to doubt their decision to break up? Maybe you're just wondering, what to expect from your ex after you begin a period of no contact, or you're worried that it's not working at all. And that's what this video is all about. I'll share 6 clear signs that indicate no contact is having the intended effect on your ex and is getting you closer to your goal of winning them back and starting over. Before we get into the first sign that no contact is working, let me just quickly clarify one thing for all of you skeptics out there. Just because you're not actively doing anything to win back your ex doesn't mean that you're not actually making any progress. Sometimes no communication at all between you and your ex can be a very good thing and often means that you're improving your chances of getting them back. So please, don't give up on no contact or lose faith simply because it feels like nothing is happening during the time apart from your ex. The lack of contact with your ex is, in itself, going to improve your shot at getting them back. Now, let's start with sign number 1. Your ex becomes upset or worried soon after you begin a period of no contact. So as I've said in a number of my previous videos, your ex being upset or angry at you can often be a positive sign for your odds of getting them back. Now, obviously, that's not the case if you cheated on them or said some, horrible things to them. But if they're mad for no apparent reason, or they're overly upset even though you haven't done anything wrong, that means that they're still emotionally invested in you and your relationship. They aren't ready to let go of you yet, and those feelings can sometimes manifest as anger or bitterness. Now, when your ex gets upset because, you've gone quiet all of a sudden, in other words, they've noticed that you're not reaching out to them anymore because you've started to employ a period of no contact. Well, that's a great sign for your chances. It means, at least in the vast majority of cases, that your ex was counting on you sticking around to help them slowly adjust to life without you. Or that they intended to keep you, as a backup plan in case they couldn't handle the heartache or the loneliness that comes with a breakup. So, your ex may text you or call you up during the early stages of no contact and ask things like, why are you ignoring me? Or, are you mad at me or something? Anything along those lines, where your ex seems to be, a bit irritated or unhappy that you've gone quiet and stopped initiating contact is usually a very good sign. Obviously, this can eventually turn into something, more problematic. For example, if your ex is messaging you, over and over, and you're not getting any kind of response from you, so they get downright angry that you're ignoring them. But in small doses, you do want your ex to seem a little bit irritated by you going silent on them. It suggests that you're not behaving the way they expected you to after the breakup, and it's going to put pressure on them to rethink things and consider taking you back before they lose you for good. So if your ex starts to get, quite upset or irritated by your silence, then it's usually, not a problem to respond and just say something like, sorry, I'm not trying to ignore you. I'm just super busy right now with life and trying hard to move on. Let's catch up again sometime soon. And then, re-engage in no contact after that. All right, and sign number 2, your ex is reaching out to you multiple times. Now, obviously, this one is a bit of a no-brainer, but it is one of the strongest signs that no contact is starting to work as intended. If they're reaching out to you on their own, whether it's just a quick text message or, they're leaving you multiple voicemails per day, begging you to call back, that's a very, very positive sign. It means that they're missing you. They want to talk to you. Maybe they're jealous. They clearly just aren't able to handle you completely disappearing from their life. And if they're contacting you frequently, especially if you're not, replying or, only responding in a very limited and distant way, that's an even stronger sign that things are going well and that you should double down on no contact, at least for a little while longer. And similarly, if your ex is starting to get more affectionate and emotional in their messages to you, like for instance, if they say, I miss you, or they tell you that they're lonely and they're struggling with the breakup, well, that's another very strong indication that no contact is affecting them. But really, simply put, the more your ex is trying to reach out and initiate contact, the more reason you do have to be optimistic. And the more obvious it is that giving them plenty of time and space is starting to foster some feelings of doubt and fear in the back of their mind. And of course, the more they doubt their decision to break up, or the more they fear the idea of losing you for good, the more likely it is that they'll change their mind and ask you to get back together. Or at the very least, they'll be a lot more open to the idea once no contact ends. All right, and sign number 3, your ex is showing a lot of curiosity and interest in what you're up to. So one major benefit to no contact is that it forces your ex to wonder what you're doing, how you're handling the breakup, whether you've started dating again, and so on. Basically, because you're not really in touch with your ex, they're in the dark. They have no idea what's going on with you and how quickly you're moving on because you're not giving them anything to go on. And it's only human nature to start, imagining worst case scenarios for your ex, especially as you get closer to the end of your period of no contact. So look for signs that your ex is curious about, what you're up to and how you're feeling. It could be as simple as them texting you to ask, hey, what's new? What have you been up to lately? Or it could be more stealth, like you might learn that they've been asking mutual friends for updates on what you're up to, or find out that they've been stalking you on social media. If your ex doesn't seem interested at all in how you're doing or what's been going on since you went quiet at the start of no contact, well, obviously that's a bad sign. It's definitely not necessarily game over, but you definitely do want to see your ex, show some interest in what you're doing or who you've been hanging out with. Ideally, you want them to be very curious about you, because the more you let their imagination run wild, the more eager they'll be to see you and to talk to you, and in many cases, to ask you to get back together. Before we move on to sign number 4, now is a good time to remind you about my free 5-minute quiz tool at breakupbrad.com/quiz. So if you finish watching this video and you're still unsure whether no contact is working or whether you have any chance of getting your ex to come back at all, well, go take the quiz and find out for yourself. Again, it's free. Just answer a handful of questions about your breakup and you'll get a score out of 100, breaking down your chances, as well as a list of recommended next steps to maximize your odds. Again, take the quiz for free at breakupbrad.com/quiz. Now, next up is sign number 4. Your ex is jealous or tries to make you jealous. Now, this one doesn't really need, much explanation, but if you see obvious indicators that your ex is jealous, whether they, learn that you've been hanging out with somebody of the opposite sex during no contact, or they just seem overall jealous that you're paying more attention to other people in your life lately, well, it's likely at least partly a result of no contact, and it usually indicates that it is working. And similarly, if your ex makes obvious attempts to incite jealousy, if they post photos of a party they were at last weekend with their arms around some other guy or girl, and you can tell they really wanted you to see their post, well, that's another good sign and could very well be an indicator that no contact is getting to them and making them desperate to get your attention and get you to reach out and take the bait. All right, and on to sign number 5, and that is you are starting to feel better and less heartbroken. Now, obviously, this one is less about your ex and more about you. Because remember, no contact isn't just about how it affects your ex psychologically. It's also designed to help you get in a better frame of mind and make yourself, more attractive to your ex. And a heartbroken loser who spends their days home alone crying about the breakup isn't very attractive. So if you're rebuilding your own confidence and you're starting to find yourself again, that's another sign that no contact is working. And it's bringing you closer to your goal of getting another chance with your ex. Ideally, and I know this is a little bit abstract, but bear with me. Ideally, you really want to adopt a I don't give a shit mindset when it comes to getting your ex back. If you can put yourself into a frame of mind where you don't actually really care that much about how things pan out with your ex, you're actually going to definitely improve your chances of getting them back. Your ex is much more likely to want you back if you're thriving in life generally, if you have other romantic options available to you, and if you're feeling self-confident and indifferent about whether you end up back with your ex or not. So no contact should be helping you get closer to that frame of mind. By the end of your no contact period, you should feel better than when you started. You should have more confidence, be further ahead in life, and be less emotional about the situation in general. And you should also be, better prepared for any outcome and ready to move on if things don't work out with your ex. In fact, if you really apply no contact exactly how I describe it in my X Factor program, then you should even already, have already been on a few dates with other people by the time your period of no contact is over. Now, I'll link to a couple of my most popular previous YouTube videos about no contact in the description below. So be sure to watch those next if you want to really maximize the positive impact that your period of no contact has on your ex. And finally, sign number 6, your ex is way more receptive to you after no contact ends. Now, obviously, this sign is something that you can't look for until your no contact period is over and you've started to communicate again with your ex. But it's definitely a very good way to tell how effective no contact was. If your ex is treating you very differently after the full period of no contact is over, that clearly shows that they're in a different headspace than they were, before you cut off contact. So for example, if your ex had previously been very firm about the breakup, telling you that it was definitely over for good, and then, after no contact ends and you start talking again, they seem, far less committed to the breakup and a lot more, nostalgic about your time together. That would be a good indication that no contact worked and changed how they feel about you and about the possibility of getting back together. Or, maybe your ex had previously been giving you mixed signals or the hot and cold treatment. And now, after you finish your period of no contact, they're giving off, mostly positive signals and seem to be acting a lot more, hot than cold. Again, that change in your ex's behavior suggests that no contact did work to shift their mental perception of you and improved your shot at getting them back. Really, any positive change to your ex's behavior or attitude between the start and the end of no contact is a good indication that it has affected them and almost certainly has improved the odds that they'll ask you to get back together. Or at least, that you've got plenty of reason to be optimistic and continue to work on getting them to commit to starting over with you in a new and better relationship. Okay, that's the 6 signs. Now, obviously, the more of these signs that your ex has shown during no contact, the more confident you should feel that it's working exactly as intended. Now, there are plenty of other signs that you could look for that I didn't mention too. But as I did mention earlier, it's easiest just to go and take my free quiz at breakupbrad.com/quiz to get a clearer picture of where your ex is at right now and how likely it is that you'll be able to win them back before it's too late. So go take that quiz now if you haven't already, and be sure to follow the recommendations and next steps that are shown in your quiz results report. If you have any quick questions about your situation, feel free to drop a comment below. If you're subscribed to my channel, I'll prioritize responding to your comments. So hit subscribe before you post a comment to make sure that I get a chance to respond. And lastly, please don't lose all hope if your ex has yet to show any of the 6 signs that I covered in this video. Obviously, everybody's different. And some people have more willpower and self-restraint than others, which might mean that they're feeling several of the things that we talked about internally, but they aren't showing them outwardly yet. Unless you take my quiz and you score less than 55 or 60, you probably still have a chance. So stick with it and keep your head up. And that's it for now. Thanks so much for watching and see you next time.